Show me the money. Show me the money.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Better Than Chocolate Online. So for the last few weeks, we have done a few budgeting items, all through the Debt to Us Part book by Gail Vaz-Oxlade. We have built a budget. We have learned how to spend that budget, some over than not. We have danced with joy that we had money left in the jars, and we felt like we were totally guilty when we overspent our budget. So this week I thought we would do something really cool. I thought we should probably talk to the author of the person who actually started the whole project. That's right. Today we're talking to Gail Vaz-Oxlade herself. Welcome to our show, Gail.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, tell me about how you got into saving people money.
Well, one of the things that the network wanted to do was create this show that talked about money and relationship. Mm-hmm. And I think when we started this, nobody had any idea it was going to be as successful as it was. Because money typically is a very dry subject. It's boring. And very often what happens is when you hear an expert talk, it sort of sounds like yada, 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 yada. And when I started doing it, of course, I was dealing with people. I wasn't really interested in what the cameras were doing. And my objective was, of course, to get these people to understand what they had to do differently so that their lives would be better. So I had to speak in English. And it's been my skill all along is to translate what typically is very overwhelming finances into very common sense language. So just about everybody gets it. And that's where we started.
Awesome. Now, what would you say would be the best way or easiest thing somebody can do to get started going from spender to saver?
The single best thing you can do is keep a spending journal and write down every penny you spend. So to this day, I still keep a spending journal. I mean, my spending journal, the current one, goes back, I think, 6 years. And all that information is in one notebook. Usually it takes a page, maybe 2 pages, to do a month's worth of transactions. But every penny I spend, I write it down and deduct it off of what I currently have and carry the balance down so that I know exactly how much money I'm working with. The thing about the spending journal is it makes you very aware of the money and where it's going. And when you take that information at the end of the month and then post it into your budget, so you take those 37 coffee transactions and add them up, then you make a decision. You know, okay, so I spent $237 on restaurants. I'm not happy with that. I want to spend less. Now you know you have to change your behavior.
That's true. Now, I ran into an issue where I was using my debit card instead of cash, like you had instructed me to do.
Yes.
And found out I spent way too much money.
Well, part of that was that you weren't keeping track of it.
And I wasn't keeping track. I
Absolutely.
spent on more things than I thought I had.
Yes.
Why do you think it is so hard for people to go with just cash and give up their plastic?
Well, I'm not sure why it is we have married plastic so much. But the reality is that plastic puts space between us and the transaction. When we use plastic, we are actually changing the way our brain behaves. And it's like this. If you go out and you buy something, you get the rush, you get the good hormones from having made the purchase. When you have to part with the cash, you get the negative. You get the holdback in your brain. And so those two things counterbalance each other. When you use plastic, you don't get the second part. And so you get the rush, you get the rush again, and you get the rush again. And so you become addicted to the rush. And so the plastic becomes the way you get the rush. Okay? When you take away the plastic and you use cash, you have to feel the pain of parting with the cash to get the rush. And so you're now making a better decision because there is the pleasure and the pain both in the mix. And so you're more likely to make better spending decisions.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. Now, something else I thought was interesting when I was starting out and I was going through, the steps in the book, Debt Free Forever, I thought it was interesting that you said, if you have to use something like your overdraft to get yourself going, do that.
Yes. Well, people keep saying to me, well, what if I don't have any money? How do I do the jars?
Exactly.
And I say, come on, guys, you're actually spending the money anyway. The fact is that, you have to pay your rent or your mortgage payment. You have to buy food. There are things that you are spending money on anyway. That's the money that we're going to use to make the budget. Okay, the fact that you're in overdraft, well, what you have to do is you have to treat that overdraft as if it is one of your debts. So it's not like you think in month one you're going to pay off the whole overdraft all at once. Unless, of course, you have the resources to do that, more power to you. But most people don't. So you treat the overdraft as a debt, and you make a plan to get that overdraft gone in 3 months or 6 months, whatever it takes. In the meantime, you're using the money as you would in any other month. All that you're doing differently is you're making a plan for where the money's going to go. Once you use the interactive budget, which I have on my website, it'll pour the money into the jars for you, and then you know how much money you will be spending in cash.
Absolutely. Incidentally, you can go to Gail's website, which is gailvaz-oxlade.com,
Yes.
and click on resources, which is where we went at the very beginning of this to get the worksheets.
Get the interactive
and
budget.
Thank you, by the way, for not making me do the math. That was awesome. Now, how long do you suggest people take to dig themselves out? Like, does it really matter on how much you owe?
Yes. Well, the thing is that there is a phenomenon called debt fatigue that sets in. If you've been in debt for a really long time and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, then what happens is you fall into the trap of thinking, well, this debt's always going to be here, it's never going to go away, so nothing much matters about what I do with my money. So that's debt fatigue. When you have that message going through your brain, that's debt fatigue.
Right.
So I say to people, what you want to do is you want to make a plan that is 36 months or less for getting rid of your debt. Now, if you have so much debt that that's impossible, then you have to extend it out maybe to 48 months or 60 months. But the reality is that the more you extend it, the more likely you are to fall off track. So I say to people, do whatever you can to get out of debt in under 36 months. And if that means you have to get a second job, hey man, you spend the money, now you have to go and earn it. And 2 jobs, 3 jobs, I don't care. Don't whine. Just do what you have to do, get out of debt.
Okay. And further to that, like, how do you pick a number? I went with what I thought I could afford to repay
Yes.
comfortably,
Yes.
and still have everything else covered, my rent,
so
my car payment.
That won't work.
That won't work?
No.
Okay.
Inevitably,
already. Okay.
yeah. Well, no. Inevitably, what happens when people pick a number that they're comfortable with, if you take that number and subtract the interest cost, and then divide the difference into your debt, that's how long it's going to take to pay off the debt. And people don't think of that. And so, let's say, for example, you owe $10,000. You decide your comfort number is $200. You look at your interest costs, and your interest costs are $190, because that's the part people don't look at, right? You have $10 left. $10 into the $1,000 that you may owe. That's how long it's going to take to get it paid off. So what I say to people instead is, pick a time when you want the debt gone. Let's say you decide it's 24 months. Take the principal amount that you owe and divide it by that 24 months. That's how much you have to pay off on your principal every single month to get out of debt. You have to add the interest to that as well. If that seems like too big an amount, then go to 36 months. But start at 24 months first to see if you can work that in. And if it means that you have to get a part-time job, working, 1 night a week on Saturdays, so that you can actually make that number, that's what you do, because that's going to get you out of debt and get you on with the rest of your life.
Okay. That's actually something I was looking at, because I can see already that I'm going to run into an issue where I don't have the income in one job coming in. And someday my other business will make money, but...
Yes. Well, this is part of being self-employed. Being self-employed in the early days is a total labor of love. You aren't doing it necessarily to make a ton of money. As long as you have a job that's paying the bills, you can devote your passion, your time, to this second job. If you are, or to this self-employment job. If you're counting on this self-employment job to pay the bills, then you've got to be making money right off the bat, because otherwise it's just a hobby.
True. Also learned the hard way. Now, something I thought was interesting that I saw in a show once upon a time, it was with students with student loans.
Yes.
And you actually had the students who had since graduated, left school, and had a mountain full of debt,
Yes.
and didn't understand how the interests work for Canada student loans.
Yes.
How do students come out of university? Like my brother was a great example. Came out of university with $85,000 worth of debt on
Yes.
his head.
Yes.
How do students dig themselves out?
Well, the thing is that you have to know going into university how much debt you're prepared to come out with. That's the first mistake people make, is they just go in and rack up the debt and never think about it. The rule of thumb is that you should not graduate with more than 1 year's net income in debt. If you do, you're going to be in a horrible place for a really long time. The 1 year of net income in debt means you can get that paid off in a reasonable amount of time, so then you can get on with your life.
Okay. So is it worth it to say that, perhaps our school system or somebody should be warning kids about that going in?
Well, certainly that's one of the rules you could learn at school as part of the applying for student loans. That's certainly one of the rules you could learn. But most of the lessons people need to learn about money, they need to learn in their home environment. Because first of all, you can't teach kids about money without giving them some. Kids are very concrete learners. Experience is the best lesson for them. And teachers are not going to give money to kids. So this lesson really needs to be learned at home. And all the experiences that you have while you are out with your child, be it using an ABM, going to a grocery store, buying school supplies, choosing clothes, where you shop, these are all decisions or activities that you would do on a regular basis. You need to be talking about it with your kids as you are doing it. So, when I took my son into the Staples store to buy his school supplies, and he chose a binder that he liked. And I said to him, okay, now look at this binder, and look at this binder. Look at the prices. And he went, oh. I said, you could actually get 4 of these binders for the price of 1 of these binders. Now, the question I have for you is, do you want 1 binder, or do you need more than 1 binder? Because if you need more than 1 binder, we're going with this one instead. But that's a discussion you have to have as you go through the process. Kids don't come to that stuff automatically. Most adults don't come to it. So why would we expect our kids to get those lessons without a little bit of coaching?
True, absolutely. Kind of just to switch gears for a second, one of the other things, of course, in the book you ask us to do, which is negotiate with our creditors.
That's getting harder.
Yes.
That's almost a non-goal right now.
I was going to say, do you have any tips?
No,
because I hit a stone wall.
Okay, that's because the credit market has changed. Okay, in the last 6 months, I would say, the credit market has changed dramatically. Part of the reason is that financial institutions have just figured out that they have given out too much credit. And what they don't want to do is they don't want to take someone else's bad loan decisions and house it under their roof in a consolidation loan.
Right.
So consolidation loans are a thing of the past. Hardly anybody's giving them out anymore. Nobody's negotiating on interest rates right now because the credit market is very tight. Economy has changed. When the economy changes, the rules change too. So unfortunately, those people who are in debt and cannot negotiate their rates, your only option is to get another job and get that high-cost debt paid off as fast as possible. Yeah.
Okay. All right. One more question with this book, and then, of course, Gail is here to talk to BC about her new book, which we'll get to in a second. What is your favorite tip to give somebody to get going, to keep going? What is your favorite maybe part of this book?
Tracking your progress is probably the single thing people don't think of doing. We don't think anything of teaching children how to track their progress when they're doing things, because we know that they're very concrete and that physical manifestation of their progress helps. So whether it is that you're working towards debt repayment or working towards building an emergency fund or your long-term savings, if you find a way to track your progress, it helps you stay focused on what the big goal is. Okay? Because if you're going to give up coffee every single day, month after month after month, in order to save the money you need to go on this vacation, then what you need to do is you need to be coloring in that little thermostat, that little thermometer, like they use when they're collecting money for
the United Way.
For the United Way, that's a good example. You need to be coloring it in so that you know the coffee you're not buying is resulting in moving up the thermometer, okay? If you have debt, I say to kids graduating from university, make yourself a tree. Make each of the leaves of the tree be a denomination, let's say $100. Put all the leaves you need to on your tree. And every time you get $100 worth of your debt pay up, rip a leaf off. Now what you're doing is you're watching as you denude your tree. And that's a very good incentive to keep going. Of course, the best way to do it in financial terms is to do a net worth statement. And you make your net worth statement, and then you redo your net worth statement every 6 months so you can physically see how you're doing.
So, of course, as I said, Gail's here promoting her new book, Money Rules. And if you have not seen it in the stores, please go buy it. Now, what was the inspiration behind this book? Where did that idea come from?
So all the books I've written so far have been process books. Debt Free Forever, as you know, is about digging yourself out of debt and all the steps you have to follow to do that. Never Too Late is about saving for the long term. Money Smart Kids is about teaching kids about money. But there are a whole bunch of things that people, when I say them, people go, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But it's not until I say them that they have thought about it. That's what this book is. This is the common sense stuff that you wish someone had told you, or you wish you had told your own children as they were growing up, because for some reason, I don't know why, for some reason this stuff has just skated right by us. You know, it's things like, it's not your money until it's in the bank. Because loads of people, they count the bonus they think they're going to get, the commission check that they're just so sure they're going to make, and they start spending this money on their credit before they actually get the money. And then when the money doesn't come in, that's how the credit turns into debt, right? So the rule is the money is not yours until it's in the bank. Even if someone has written you a check, it's not your money till the check is cleared. Because there's so much that can go wrong, okay?
Absolutely.
And the rule's so important, I wrote it twice in there.
Well, and just a case in point, I get paid twice a month. We had a switchover of accountant one day.
Yes.
And it was a day late getting into the account.
Yes.
And of course, all of my stuff had automatic withdrawal the day before the 30th. Turns out, you should be planning for the 30th, not the day before, which was usual for our company.
Right.
Because now I had all this phoning to do, going, I'm so sorry, yes it is
there. You have to change everything now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
well, and this is the thing, is that until the money is in the account, it's not your money. And you know, what you're talking about is this whole idea of paying your bills on time. The reality is you should not have anything that close to your payday, because what you need is time for all the payments to clear. And so I say to people, on time usually is 3 or 5 business days before the date on the statement, because it might take that long for the payment to clear. Just about the only thing that doesn't apply to is if you set up an automatic payment, then it comes out the day of and everybody understands that. But if you're actually manually paying your bills or you're paying them online, you need to be paying them 3 to 5 days before they're actually due.
Oh, good to know. Why 261 rules?
No reason.
No reason?
When I went to write the rules, I said to Kate, who is my editor, how many words? And she said, well, you know, we want to keep it at this. And I went and I started writing. And when I got 3/4 of the way, a little bit more than that, 80% of the way there, I said to her, okay, so I'm 80% of the way there. I'm going to stop writing rules now, because you're going to want to add rules. You're going to have things you want me to expand on. I'm going to write a rule and you're going to say, well, what about this rule? And she said, no, keep writing. And so I just kept writing till I ran out of things to say.
Well, that's not so bad.
Well, the thing is that so much of the other stuff had been covered in the other books. There's not a lot of repeat from book to book. You know, and if I do repeat something, I try to give you a different way to do it. So, for instance, in Debt Free Forever, I show you one way to make a budget. In Never Too Late, I show you a different way to make a budget. Because different people, they like things differently. Okay? This book doesn't talk about making a budget at all. I tell you to make a budget, but I don't tell you the hows, because that's been covered somewhere else.
No. I did appreciate the journal, the sample
The spending journal, how to do a spending journal?
I did appreciate that a lot.
Yes, because a lot of people, they don't understand that what you have to do is continue to carry your balance.
Yes.
Very often they write down what they're spending, but because they're not deducting it from the balance in their bank account, they're not actually feeling the pain. And the point of the spending journal is to keep track of where the money is going, but also to keep track of how much you have left.
Okay. Now, I did find some surprising rules in the book. And several I've broken already. One of the ones I thought was really interesting is that you insist almost right off the hop to make a will.
Absolutely, because you're going to die and you don't know when. So if you have anybody that's dependent on you, if you have any assets at all, you need to have a will.
And the other thing I thought was interesting was the pets. When you get a pet, make a limit right away.
Absolutely. How much are you going to spend? Because the thing is that people get caught in this, I love my pet, so I will spend indeterminately. Listen, if you have the money in the bank and you want to spend it taking care of your pet, no problem. If you're going to go into debt for a dog or a cat, and believe me, I'm an animal lover. I've had horses, llama, pony, dogs, cats, birds, I've had it all. Fish, okay? If you're going to go into debt for an animal, you better be prepared to define just how much debt you're going to go into. Because I think no debt is the right answer. But hey, if you have set a deadline, set a specific amount, that's fine with me.
Okay. Now, for those who have not read the book, and I'll be honest, I'm about halfway through the book. I'm a slow reader. What other real unusual or surprises are there that people don't know? It's
things like you shouldn't borrow to contribute to an RRSP. For years and years and years.
So we've been told we should borrow.
I know. It's the wrong rule. Okay? The only people who should borrow to contribute to an RSP are those people who are in the highest tax bracket, can get that loan paid off in 1 year or less, and make their current year's RSP contribution at the same time. So if what you're doing is climbing on the hamster wheel, so borrow, pay it off. Borrow, pay it off. Don't do it.
Right.
Instead, figure out what your payment for the RSP loan would have been, and make that as your monthly contribution to your RSP. They'll totally eliminate the interest costs. You won't be on the hamster wheel. You'll be proactive.
Wow. Now, see, I didn't see that coming. Duly noted, do not borrow to pay my RSP. All right.
Yeah.
What is your favorite rule in the book?
Probably the idea of embracing anticipation, rediscovering the joy of anticipation. We've become such a buy it now, enjoy it now society that we have totally lost the pleasure you can derive from thinking about what it is you're going to buy before you buy it. So let's take the vacation as an example, because it's a very easy one for people to think about. You can go and put your vacation in your credit card, go on vacation, come back, and then slog through paying off the vacation. Or you can turn it on its head, and you can say, I'm not actually going to take the vacation until I have the money already in the bank. But the whole time I'm saving it, I'm thinking about where I'm going. And I'm thinking about the bathing suit that I may buy as part of this. Or I'm accumulating the little things, pair of sunglasses, the sunscreen, the travel maps. I'm planning what the various outings will be, where we're going to go. I'm thinking about the fact that I'm not going to have to make my bed for 7 whole days. I am enjoying the anticipation of the trip before I go on the trip. Because the reality is, that's way more fun than going on the trip, coming back, and then spending the next 12, 18 months trying to dig yourself out of debt. The whole time paying interest, you totally negate the benefit of having gone on the vacation.
Good point. All right. We actually have been saving money for a trip to California. So
cool.
When we have enough, we'll go.
In the meantime, anticipate it.
Yes.
And think about the pleasure you will derive when you actually get to go.
I'm looking forward to it, believe me.
Good.
Wineries alone have me called to California.
Cool.
Now, my favorite rule in the book, because to be honest, I skipped to the end, was the take pleasure in your money.
Yes.
Now, I may not be able to do that right now as I'm digging my sorry butt out of debt, but it's important to learn to take some pleasure in what you have.
Absolutely. And to take pleasure from the things that you are going to spend your money on. It requires that you make some choices. It requires that you don't just think you can spend everything every time you see something that's glittery. But when you do spend the money, enjoy spending the money. Enjoy whatever it is you're acquiring and take great pleasure from it. So, for example, I buy tea. Tea is one of my things, okay? David's tea have me cold. And when I spend money on tea, I spend time going through the catalog, I anticipate what things are going to taste like. When they ship you tea, they ship you little sample packets. I will make a cup of tea with a sample packet and decide whether that's a keeper tea or I'm not really interested in that flavor. Just the whole process of acquiring tea and enjoying my tea, that's money well spent for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
I'm doing a new show.
Oh.
There'll be a new show out in April called Money Moron. We've done the first 10 episodes. I've seen about 5 of them in rough cuts. They're fabulous!
Yay.
My favorite show yet. So I'm just about to go into production for the next season of that. I'll start that in April.
Oh, awesome.
So I'll be on book tour between now and the end of March, and then I roll right into production for the next season of the new show.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm excited now. All right. Thank you so much for coming in and teaching us how to not be money morons. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time to learn how to get out of debt and how to actually appreciate your money. I will say adieu for the day, and thanks for watching our Money Project. You can catch everything we've ever done on betterthanchocolateonline.com.